Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today, job to do on some of the car trim, which has basically got some lacquer peel. Now, the car is almost 8 years old, it is generally left outside, but it is just a bit disappointing to see some of the state of the trim. So hopefully today what we're going to do is repair that and put it, well, as close to new as we can possibly get. Let's get this cleaned off a bit so we can actually see what we're dealing with. Well, if you were expecting much of an improvement after giving it a clean, unfortunately we're all sadly disappointed, as this is the result, which is absolutely rubbish and really lets the overall appearance of the car down, a bit like having badly scuffed alloy wheels. Now, to get this off should be quite straightforward, because under here we've got a couple of screws. So all we need to do now is just remove this rubber trim, which looks like it's clipped at the top here. So yeah, there we go. Just leaving us then with a bit of plastic, which we need to repair. Oh, there's another tab just at the bottom here as well. But that comes off quite easily. I'll say that. Yeah, there we go. And just the other side too. There we go. Obviously being careful not to damage this, because we do want to put this straight back on. So there's a couple of ways we can look to repair this, and perhaps one of the more obvious ones might be to use a good quality vinyl wrap. Now, I did actually try to use this on another piece of trim on the car, and it didn't come out that well. Part of it definitely due to my ability, but also as well I wasn't really happy with the orange peel effect from the wrap. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to spray it. So my first step is going to be to use some trusty wet and dry, and I'm starting off with some 1200. Just to see if we can clear up some of the surface of the plastic, as well as then provide a key to the paint we're going to put on top. So I've brought it outside and just rested it on a bucket, so hopefully you can see a little bit more in terms of what's going on. So I've not touched the top piece of this yet, so this is exactly as it has been for the last, well, 6-9 months, and this is the bit that I've actually been rubbing down. So you can see the marked difference between the two surfaces, where we've had lacquer peel and not so much. And as I mentioned, I've not touched the top of this yet, so this is exactly as it was. Now, it looks as though as you touch this that there's actually a step change between these two surfaces, but there's not. That feels completely smooth, and to be honest with you, even when we go back to where we've got the peel, that feels pretty smooth as well, but you can actually feel a ridge around where it looks though the surfaces actually change and the lacquer's peeled. You can feel that, and obviously what I'm trying to do is just basically make these surfaces level, because if we just put paint straight on top of that, it's going to show up any discrepancies and any differences. So this is what we're left with then. So hopefully that's a good enough surface on which to paint. It certainly feels good, feels pretty smooth, and I can't feel any ridges or imperfections. But if there are any, the paint unfortunately will soon show it up. But anyway, let's go get prepped. So I'm just going to mask off some of this plastic part, but I'm not really too worried about it because don't forget we've got that rubber gasket that's going to go all of the way around it. So I just want to do the bottom part where we affix it to the car. Still going to be careful not to get too much around the sides, because obviously it's the face that we're focused on. And lastly, I'm just going to prep the surface with some silicone remover just to make sure that it's perfectly clean before we start laying down the paint. So I've shaken this for a couple of minutes just to make sure it's completely mixed, and then I'm just going to do a test spray, see what it comes out like. I think that's looking good, so time to get on with it. And so the reason I've just put this plastic lid over it is to give it some level of basic protection from dust. After all, we are in my garage and it's not exactly the cleanest environment. So I'm going to leave this now in my rudimentary paint station, then we'll come back in an hour or so and see what it looks like. Okay, so it's been about an hour and a half, so let's see what we've got. Okay, well generally I'd say that's looking pretty good, but certainly it's quite smooth here. And also as well here, I'm not sure if it's picking it up on the camera, but between sort of the transition of where it was lacquered and where the lacquer was starting to peel, you can actually see that. There you go. Hopefully that's focusing quite well now. Now, I know it's only had one coat and definitely needs more, but that does feel a bit rough. So I think what I'm going to do is just make sure this is dry, so leave it a bit longer. Then I'm going to take the opportunity just to rub that down a little bit more. So to smooth this out a little bit further, what I'm going to do is start with 2000 grit this time. And initially at least, just focus on the area that's the roughest. And the first thing we've got to do is just get this trim back on. Okay, looking good. Let me know in the comments how you think this has turned out, but I'm really pleased with what this looks like. Now I know it doesn't necessarily match the original panels because it's not a gloss finish, but I do have others to do too, so it will eventually all match up. Anyway, please like, subscribe and comment, and I'll see you again soon, back on the channel with some more videos.